apply visitors visa. That is either B1, B2 visa. This is where you can be invited either maybe by a family member or a friend, and you come and visit. Or you don't need even to be invited. You can just, book yourself a hotel here where you're gonna stay. Yeah. Come and visit places like Grand Canyon, Niagara Falls. You just come to visit with no person hosting you. You just need to come and, just go to the embassy. You have enough finances. You book yourself a flight. You apply your DS-160 tourism visa. And you go to the embassy and you prove that, you're going to cater for your tour or vacation. You're just coming for vacation in US. You don't need anyone to host you in that case. I know there are people who always think that for you to come to US, you need a host. It depends with the kind of visa. Every time we are thinking about one, invitation letter, and second, a host, it depends with the kind of visa that you want. And I know this one, to some people, sometimes it doesn't sound good. Every time I tell you guys, you don't need like a host to come to US. You just need to have the capability to come to US. You can be given a visa if you are able to show and to prove that I have enough finances and I'm going to US to visit. Because visitor's visa means simply you're coming here to visit and then go back to your country. And that is where the main thing is. So there are people who usually use visitor's visa. They come here and they want to, go underground here with that visa. That visa called visitor's visa, it is not a working visa. And it is good to talk the bitter truth. This is what we call bitter truth. That the visitor's visa, yes, it will help you to come to US, but simply it is a visa where you're supposed to come and go back home. It is not a working visa. So even when you go for the interview for the visitor's visa, you are supposed to prove with no doubt that you are not coming here in US to work. If you suggest in any way that you are going to work, you will be denied that visa. If you suggest in any way that you are coming to stay in US with a visitor visa, you will be denied. So the way you answer the questions, the way you approach the consular at the embassy about the visitor's visa, you must show that you are going back home. That is what we call family ties. Yeah, so visitor's visa is one kind of visa. Yes, it will enable you to come and visit US, but it's not a working visa. And so what happens when some people, and one of the follower here, Lini Wajilo, asked me, just address these about visitor's visa and jobs. Yeah, because when you come here with the visitor's visa, the probability that you can work is almost zero. I'm not saying that people don't work with the visitor's visa. Maybe they have their own way of trying to connect with people who can help them, but you don't have the privilege. You're not supposed to be working. You're not supposed to be working at the visitor's visa. Yeah? So, and maybe the kind of job you can get when you are at the visitor's visa, unless you get a job where maybe someone is going to hire you somehow underground, backdoor jobs. You are hiding. You don't have the freedom. You don't have the privileges. Actually, and also it depends with the state. So it is not an easy visa to think that you will come to US with a visitor's visa to work. Guys, get that. Get that. So you find that, because for you to be able to work in US, you have to have work authorization. You have to be given a card called work authorization. and the something we call social security number. You cannot work. Most people here will not employ you unless you are authorized, especially if you are coming from outside. You must be authorized to work in US. So if you just come as a visitor, you will not be given that authorization. Yeah, and I'm not saying there are people I know who come, probably they are able to navigate through other ways and find themselves in a position to get into other kind of visa. For instance, if you come at as a visitor within your stay, and if you are able to adjust your visa, let's say for instance to student visa, that is a little bit better, because as a student, depending on the college or the university you can join, you are around. As a student, you can work at least 20 hours in a week. So those are two different things, you see. So you can come as a visitor immediately. If you want to work a little bit here, you can adjust your visitor's visa to student visa. So it's a process. It's a process. And now from the student visa, if you go to school, yeah, and you finish a program, you can now get what we call employment-based visa. You can be employed and the employer petition for you. So it's still like a process. Like these things about immigration, you don't rush. They move slowly. And you might think you're landing in US, and within 2 months or within a year, things gonna be all bright and flying colors. No, processes that somehow require time. And this is the bitter truth sometimes we never talk about. It is the truth, but it's somehow bitter. Like things don't just work. They don't just work instantly like this. No, these are processes that require time. They require time, guys. So it is good. There are people who come, they say, oh, I just want to get that visitor's visa, and I find myself in US. But every kind of visa you think to apply, guys, you have always to look at both sides, the pros and the cons. The pros and the cons. Every kind of visa you get into has some consequences, especially if it is a non-immigrant visa. Non-immigrant visa means temporary visa. It is a visa that allows you to be in US for a period of time, such that if that visa expires, you automatically you are illegally in US. And these non-immigrant visas, you have always to be careful with them. If you come in US as a student, let's say for instance you're given a visa as a student, and you come here, do a program like, for example, master's 2-year program, and then that visa, maybe you're given, let's say 5 years visa. If it expires before you adjust the status of that visa to any other visa that can enable you stay here, you will be here illegally. And that's why now, if you're not careful, you will be at the mercies of immigration authority. You will find yourself being deported if you're caught. You are like hiding. You stay hiding. This is the bitter truth, guys. You hide. You cannot have that freedom. You cannot also be able to choose jobs that you want, because if you're lucky enough to get a job, it has to be maybe somehow through a person who has, for instance, maybe a company or a group home or something that will help you be getting some dollars. But again, you're not even being paid very well. You see, there are all these consequences. Visitor's visa, yes, it will bring you to US, but that is not a working visa. So when you come here and you think that you're gonna stay here, the chances are we don't know. You may be successful when you are able to adjust your visitor's visa maybe to student visa for a time, maybe then after that to employment-based visa or through marriage. There are all these possibilities, but it's not an easy pathway to think that you are coming here in US to work. And it also depends with the state you land in, the state, because states are very many. Actually, if you have like friends, if you have like family members, and you know they have been here for many years, they have not been able to go home. Most likely, they can't be able to come home because they came maybe through that visa we are talking about, the visitor's visa that majority also like about it. Because if you are here and your visitor visa expire when you are here, when you go back home, you cannot be able to come back again. That's why you will find that, you know, for wives who are back home, they were left by their husband, and their husband have been here for many years, they have not been able to go back home. It's not that they don't want to come back home, but there are consequences. If they decide to come back home, they will not be able to come back here. So it has not been easy, guys. Or even sometimes you find people coming here, you knew very well that you had a relationship, a very strong family back home, but when they get here, probably because they still want to find ways of navigating life here, they get into other relationships. Guys, all these are the consequences. And you as a spouse left back home, you don't know how hard sometimes it is to survive here at a visitor's visa. Because one, you're not supposed to be here. You are supposed to visit and go back home. So when you're here and you stay here with a visitor's visa, my goodness, guys, it is not an easy pathway. It is not an easy thing. You know, it's better to talk the truth. It's better to tell you the truth. You know, the information I'm providing on this platform, guys, is to shed some light to you and tell you there are so many other kind of visas you can always think of exploring besides just visitor's visa. You can, as long your visitor's visa is not expired. When it comes to adjusting status from one visa to another, if you're like, for instance, we are talking about visitor's visa. If the visitor's visa is not expired by the time you are applying for adjusting to another visa, then you will not have any problem. But if you come here as a, you know, let's say as a visitor, then your status have expired, it becomes of a challenge. And let me tell you another thing I have noted. If you come here as a visitor, your visitor visa expires, you cannot even be able to apply for green card lottery while here and your visitor's visa has expired. Guys, that is another thing. You can apply for green card lottery when you are here, either at a visitor's visa or at a student visa, as long those visas are still not expired. They are not expired. But if they expire, you are required to go back to your home country and apply for green card lottery. And even as you continue to browse and to read more about these different kind of visas, please make sure you also check the benefits of every visa, the benefits. You can Google that, like the benefit of visitor's visa in US, or the disadvantages. You know, like, just empower yourself to know, if I'm going through this pathway, what do I expect? Yeah, what do I expect? And I said again, in conclusion, a visitor's visa, you might think it's an easier way to come to US, but again, if you chance to get one, you know, come here knowing it's not a working visa. If you will need to adjust it to another kind of visa, you know it is a process. It may take time, and you have just to persevere. You have to persevere.